Form work, you say? Nah, I'm not much on dieting, but I do want a better backhand. Spin it. Hey DMD family, welcome back to another Discs MD video. Well, the off season is here, and what does that mean? Form work. Endless form work. Yeah, the opportunity to get better for next season at throwing these things. Full disclosure, this is take number 3 for this video. The other two just got a little too long-winded and a little preachy, and I didn't want to do that. I know that there are varying opinions on what I'm going to present today, and I just want to say up front that I respect people's opinions that are different from mine and approach the game differently than me. I just feel that for me, there's a better way to do things, so that's the approach that I'm taking. I'm not saying that they're wrong and I'm right, because that may not be the case, but I feel that this is a better approach for me and a better way to focus on things, so that's what I'm going to talk about. And you can feel free to disagree with me in the comments below, and let's have a conversation about it. I have pretty thick skin. I've worked with 2- and 3-star generals, so not a lot phases me anymore. So as long as you're respectful, we can have a conversation about it in the comments below. But let's get started. So I've said regularly on this channel that when you're changing your form or you're working on your form, to not do too many things at once. And I am not listening to what I'm saying. I am getting very attention deficit disorder when it comes to my form work, partly because I'm super excited about everything that's going on, working with Josh now. Things are just getting better, and I get excited about it, so I want to do everything. And you can't focus on 1 or 2 things at a time and get good at those before moving on. So this off season, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on 2 things in my backhand, and the focus for me is going to be distance, power. And this will probably be the last off season where I focus on that. I just think that I have more distance, more power to unlock. I don't think I'm throwing as far as I can. And the point for me is not to be able to throw 500 feet. The point for me is to be able to have controlled power. So I don't have to think about ripping the disc a million miles an hour when I'm on the tee box. My form work lends to my power, and I can focus more on putting the disc where I want it. But I think to do that, I need to focus on raw power first, and then after that, work on my accuracy game. So in this off season, I'm going to focus on power. And the 2 things that I'm going to focus on are coil and timing with my plant. And here's where it's going to get maybe a little bit controversial, but I believe that our speed comes from our upper body, majority of it. I'm not saying that the legs aren't important. I'm not saying that the legs don't play a role. I'm not even saying that the legs are a minor portion of it, but I believe it's 60-40. And I used to think it was all legs, but the more I research is the wrong word, but the more I study and the more I watch and the more I listen and the more I learn, the more I realize it's the upper body that generates the speed that we need to transfer to the disc, right? Because we all know that to get distance in disc golf, it takes speed and spin. And where does our speed come from? Well, the disc is controlled by my hand. And my hand is connected to my wrist, connected to my forearm, connected to my upper arm, connected to my shoulder, connected to my spine. Thoracic rotation. This movement right here, I believe, is what generates the power. And Josh did a video on this a day or 2 ago about him working on his power, and he and I agree on this, getting the disc from full backswing to hit as fast as possible. That's where our power comes from. So how do I do that? What do I focus on to get this motion the fastest possible? And it's upper body. Lower body is the supporting mechanism to thoracic rotation. When I talk about thoracic rotation, I'm talking about the portion of your spine that's encompassed within your ribs, your thorax. Okay? So T1 through T12 in your spine, which creates this movement right here. That's what we need to focus on. And what are the driving forces behind this movement within our body? I love muscle anatomy. I used to work out. I used to be a gym rat. I know it doesn't look like it anymore because I've let myself go for the past year, but I'm going to get back to it, I promise. But anyway, we need muscle fibers that run transversely, which means across the body this way. The only muscle fibers that do that are in the upper body. All of our lower body muscles run laterally, up and down, okay? The muscle groups that we're worried about for thoracic rotation are internal and external obliques, right? They move this way, right? As well as your trapezius muscle, which is the superficial muscle of the back, runs from up here to down here and then inserts at your scapula, the acromion, and the spine of the scapula that gives you the rowing motion. So your trapezius, and then below the trapezius is the rhomboids, right? The rowing motion. So this motion right here. Those are massive muscle groups of your upper body that will help you generate a lot of speed. How do we utilize them? Well, we utilize them through something we call coil, or shoulder to hip separation. So I'm going to keep my hips faced at you right now, and all I'm going to do is turn my shoulders. This is what we want. We want this in our form. We want shoulder to hip separation. And what that does is it allows us to store energy in such a way under tension that when we release it, we can use those muscle groups that I talked about to snap us through and drive our arm and our disc through our motion. So the first thing that I'm going to work on in the off season is coil. And I have a real problem with this, and I venture to say a lot of people do, and this is where my problem lies with coiling. And let me adjust the camera real quick here. There it is, so you can see my feet. My problem is this step right here. My foot tends to point back too far, and what happens is my hips then rotate back too far, and I don't get any hip to shoulder separation because they're all in line. I can't go back anymore with my shoulders here. I'm already facing backwards. So what I need to do is focus on planting this X step foot more parallel in my walk up. It doesn't have to be exactly parallel, but it has to be more parallel so it doesn't turn my hips backwards, because I need my hips facing toward you as much as possible. They can be off. They certainly can be off. But then this needs to happen. My hips are off, but my shoulders are that much more off. Thoracic flexibility, thoracic rotation is what we're trying to accomplish in coil, right? And where the resistance is then your lower body, right? That's where the lower body comes into place. It's the foundation, the base. It puts you in a good position for coil up top, and then you brace against it, right? You brace against it to then snap through with your upper body. I'll link two videos below. One is a disc golf video from Gannon Buhr, where he goes over the importance of getting the disc into the power pocket, the disc movement. And he says in that video, you can have sloppy footwork. If your arm mechanics are good, you can throw far. But if you have good footwork and terrible arm mechanics, your distance is going to suffer. So I'll link that one below. There's another one, but it's a baseball one. And it goes through analyzing Ken Griffey's form. And I thought this one was very pertinent to this and very eye-opening to me, to where I thought that the biggest deal in a baseball swing is the lower body. But the reason that Ken Griffey and a bunch of the big power hitters have the power they do is because they use their upper body to lower body separation better than anyone else in the game. And Ken Griffey sets up his base, but then when he goes to swing, he keeps his, and watch the video, it's very eye-opening. He keeps his hands in the same spot and turns his upper body against him. And that causes the same effect that we're going after, the upper body, lower body separation. And then he uses his feet and his legs to take that coil, that stored energy, and snap it through, right? So First thing that I'm working on this off season is coil. The second thing is what I just talked about, the timing in the brace and unleashing the coil, right? So I've talked about this in the past as well, and it's something that we all struggle with. All us amateurs struggle with this. Hitting the ground with my brace foot and then pulling the disc through. I always pull that disc through too early, and it hurts our distance because we have nothing to pull against. If we're pulling our disc before our foot goes down, we have no resistance to pull against. So we need to hit the ground and then pull through. The timing mechanism is hit the ground, pull through. And that is when we're going to realize our maximum distance. Shoulder to hip separation, hit the ground, pull through. Those are the two things that I'm working on this off season to help me get more distance for next season. How am I doing this? Endless repetition. Being very detail oriented, being very deliberate, and being very repetitive, right? So I'm over exaggerating everything. My hips, I feel this. I have to feel the tension here. And then whip it through. Set up, facing forward, keep my hips still, only turn my shoulders. I have to feel this, and I'm going to do this over and over and over again, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And then I'll slowly incorporate it into my walk up, right? I'll do it standstill. I'll do just the X step, right? Then I'll do a 3-step walk up. Then I'll do my 5-step walk up. But I don't plan on getting my 5-step walk up until maybe the end of February. Because I just want to drill this. We need to teach our bodies to get into this position. And the only way to do that is to do it over and over and over and over again until it becomes second nature. And the same thing with the timing. It is coil, plant, then throw, right? And I'll do that the same way. Stand still hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. Plant, pull through. And then I'll do little X step, plant, pull through. And then I'll build upon it, and again, not get to my final stage until maybe the end of February when I put it all together. Take your time. Be deliberate. Be intentional. Over-exaggerate movements when you're practicing at home. Drill them over and over and over again. And that way, when you get to the tee box on a course, you don't have to think about it. Your body knows what it's doing. Well, there you have it. That's what I'm working on in this off season. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope this was informative to you. I hope it's something that you can use as you work in your form this off season. This is the path that I'm taking, and it's endorsed by my coach, so that helps me a little bit. Let's get better for next season. That's the end goal here, getting better for next season. So I hope you do the same thing. And until next time, enjoy the